He'll be a factor in Durban in the Ultra. A look there at the women's results, and from a very nice long-mile prestige triathlon in Gordons Bay.
Club Mykonos on the Cape West Coast provided the perfect venue for the 1991 South African Swim Triathlon Championships. Setting the pace for the day's events was a display of flying prowess by the South African Air Force Falcons. On a different plane, Dion Steyn, Kevin Richards, both Springboks, and Jaco Lewis would be likely pace setters, while among the ladies, Springbok Renee Scott, last year's winner Luann Rivet, and Hannele Steyn, also a Springbok, would be reaching out for top honours. Thousands of hours of training had brought 180 triathletes to the transition area shortly before the start. Just what is involved for an athlete to reach the point where he feels he can meet the challenge of triathlon competition. With me, last year's Springbok captain, Tim Stewart.
I believe that anybody can complete a triathlon, but in order to be amongst the top few in this triple sport, one needs at least 2 to 3 hours of intensive training a day.
The first discipline, swimming, started from the harbour, and a mass start means you need to find your way up front as soon as possible.
Yes, with everybody getting into the water together, there are no grid positions, and this can make the start very, very chaotic. There's a lot of dunking, there's a lot of splashing and kicking, and the top swimmers definitely have an advantage in getting away quickly. You can already see Kevin Richards, who is an ex-Springbok swimmer, in the centre of your screen, heading out the field. And from this view from the air, you can see shortly after the start that he's already a good few body lengths ahead.
At the turning point, Kevin Richards was far from the madding crowd. Hampering his progress, though, was a mean 20 to 30 knot wind.
Kevin actually has competed internationally over the last 2 winter seasons and has proved that he can actually stay with the world's best during the swim leg of the triathlon. For those that the swim leg isn't their strong point, obviously conditions like these are always very, very daunting. And especially, I think, for the upcountry triathletes who aren't used to the sea, it makes it all the more difficult.
17 minutes and 32 seconds later, 1.5 kilometre swim behind him in not altogether favourable conditions, and Richards is into a comfortable lead. Heading up the beach and through the Calivas, Richards makes his way to the transition area. Contemplating how to reel in Richards' 2.5-minute lead is Brian Melville, second out of the water. Ahead of the main pack, and 8th overall, Dominic Donner dominated the ladies section in the water, establishing a 1-minute lead.
Yes, although Dominic came out of the water very well, at this stage he's not yet a well-balanced triathlete and is going to have to work very hard in the cycle and the run.
Into the transition area, where a quick change can no doubt add precious seconds to Richards' lead.
One needs to be well prepared and to know exactly what you're going to do in the transition area. Here you'll notice that Kevin leaves his shoes clipped onto his pedals in order to save himself a few seconds.
And second place lady and last year's winner, Luann Rivet, looking for the double.
Luann is an excellent swimmer and known to be a very gutsy competitor. And the other girls at this stage will definitely know that they're going to have to work very hard to catch her.
But first they're going to have to catch Dominic Donner as she heads out on the 40-kilometre cycle. The route now to competitors away from Club Mykonos on 2 20-kilometre circuits. Out on the road and still looking extremely strong, Kevin Richards.
Kevin's going to want to keep his lead for as long as possible, because in the running leg he knows there are stronger athletes, and this is going to count in the end.
Following hot on Richards' wheels, Jaco Lewis had moved right up the pack after leaving the water well behind the leader.
Jaco is known to be a very strong cyclist, and as you can see here, he's pushing a very, very hard gear compared to Richard Wilmore just behind him, who seems to be spinning the pedals a lot quicker.
In 4th place, much to everyone's amazement, junior triathlete Conrad Stoltz. What does the sort of wind do to the cyclist's legs?
Well, I'd say that under these conditions, you have to be a well-rounded cyclist. You need a lot of speed to be able to thunder with the wind behind you, where these athletes will reach excesses of 60 kilometers an hour, but you also need the power and the strength to be able to work against the wind, which is to many cyclists a nightmare.
And Luann Rivet has snatched the lead from Dominique Donner.
Few of the top triathletes are putting in a full day's work. However, Luann is a full-time physiotherapist, and it's amazing what she does on the limited amount of time that she actually gets to train.
Moving into second place, Sibus Mouton. And grimly determined, Hannele Steyn in third place, working hard to reel in Rivet's 4-minute lead. But the action was up front with the men.
And here we see Richard Wilmore catching up to Jaco Lutz, who's still in his big gear, but decides to change down as he sees Wilmore spinning past him.
Henny Wenzel, and while he may not have featured in the swim, he was certainly taking advantage of his professional experience to take the lead among the veterans.
It's interesting to note here that Henny is pushing a relatively big gear, possibly his experience and his strength will allow him to do so against this wind.
And Hannele Steyn, pulling out all the stops, excelled to haul in Luann Rivet within 20 kilometers of the cycle. Into the transition area for the second and last time, and Kevin Richards prepares for the 10-kilometer run with a 3.5-minute cushion.
Unless anything dramatic happens, Kevin must realize that he's in with a good chance to win these championships.
Lutz hadn't allowed Wilmore to get away from him, and their duel for second and third and ultimately first continues into the final discipline. At this point, what are their tactics likely to be?
I think at this stage they would realistically think of their positions as being a race within a race. Kevin's 3.5 minutes ahead, and it's really unlikely that they're going to be able to hold in that gap.
And the 17-year-old Northern Transvaaler Conrad Stoll still maintaining a strong challenge in fourth place after the grueling 40-kilometer cycle. In fifth, Paddy Murphy of Western Province sets off on the last energy-sapping 10 kilometers. Hannele Steyn loses direction for a moment after her stunning performance in the cycle has seen her into the lead. 1990 winner Luann Rivet sets off to try and nullify Steyn's 2-minute lead. Five kilometers on, and the turn back home for the final 5 kilometers into the 20-knot wind. Richard still leads, but he's tiring visibly.
It's going to be grim into that wind, but the advantage of an out-and-back course is that you can see exactly where your opposition is. And this is something that Kevin will be keeping a keen eye on.
Hannele Steyn really has the bit between her teeth at this stage and looks unstoppable. While the ladies' event seemed cut and dried, things were beginning to happen in the men's, as Lutz decides it's time to put in a final effort with some 3 kilometers to go.
Wilmore doesn't consider himself a strong runner at this stage. And I think what's happening here, he's pushing the pace as hard as he can to try and see if he can make it away from Jaco. However, as you notice here, Jaco comes up beside him, and I think Wilmore realizes at this stage that he's probably going to lose this one to Jaco.
But up front, Kevin Richards' amazing performance in the swim and cycle was taking its toll. With the lead he'd built up be sufficient to stave off the challenge from Jaco Lutz.
Kevin believes in pushing hard in the swim and also the cycle, but possibly in this race it could just lead to his downfall.
With 1.5 kilometers to go, Lutz had Richards well and truly in his sights. And Kevin sportingly acknowledges that this race has slipped away from him.
I don't think Jaco will find words to describe how he's feeling right now. He knows that he's got the race done up.
Luann Rivet stood little hope of catching Steyn at this stage, but had to contend with Sibus Mouton's challenge for her second place. Richards gives up second place to Wilmore, and uppermost in his mind now must simply be finishing.
A sad moment and an athlete's nightmare, especially for somebody who's led the race for such a distance. '17-year-old Stoll showing tremendous stamina and determination
in attempting to keep Paddy Murphy at bay over the final 1,000 metres.
Even though that is only a kilometre, you can be sure that Paddy Murphy will be working hard here to gain that extra position.
The festive setting of Club Mykonos beckons welcomingly as Lutz passes through the transitional area for the final time to claim the 1991 swim triathlon title. An appreciative crowd welcomes a tired Wilmore into second place, his best performance ever. And crowning an amazing performance was third place is promising junior Conrad Stoltz. Leaping into fourth place, one of triathlon's colourful characters, Mad Dog Murphy. And after leading to within 1.5 kilometres of the finish, a disappointed but philosophical Kevin Richards finished in 8th place. Henny Wenzel finished 13th overall and was the first veteran home. And Hannele Steyn, finishing in 2 hours, 40 minutes and 35 seconds, obviously delighted with her milestone performance and the 1991 ladies' title. Robbed of the double, Transvaal's hard-working Luann Rivet clung to her second place. And an energetic third place went to Western Province's Sibus Mouton. And to confirm some of the other results, Conrad Stoltz's third place overall earned him the junior title. Western Province's Barbara Webb took the women's veterans title and Harold Bliss the masters title. Interest moves south to Gordons Bay, where the long mile prestige triathlon takes place on the 6th of April. And with that...
In ideal weather conditions and warm water, the Fedlife Interprovincial Triathlon got underway with 150 athletes thrashing the water to a foam in the first leg of the event. Kevin Richards was the obvious favourite, and he immediately put distance between himself and the pack. And taking us through this race, well-known triathlete Alec Riddle.
A large competitive field which would lead to lots of barging and pushing as the competitors go towards the first buoy in the 1,500-metre surf swim. Kevin Richards, an accomplished surf swimmer, always out first in the water in South African triathlons, is doing just that again. There he goes with a perfect arm action, usually builds up a substantial lead of a minute or more. But in this event, Brian Melville, a top junior from the Western Province there with the yellow cap, is going exceptionally well. Coached by Tom Frankel in the Western Cape, his swimming has improved dramatically. And the bunch, the pushing, the shoving, the jockeying for position, and it's really hell out there. First out of the water, Kevin Richards, with just over 30 seconds lead over Brian Melville with a great swim.
Next, it was into the cycling leg, with Kevin Richards away first. This would be a tough leg for Richards, who did not quite